All right, we are back on Thursday. So the initial day shoulder started hurting was Saturday night. Since then, haven't been able to bench press, and it did have some fairly noticeable effect on day-to-day life and daily movements. Especially just like getting in the car, reaching across with my right arm to put my seatbelt on, to shift gears, to put my right hand on the steering wheel. Things like that. If I'm holding something in my right hand and I reach over to put it in the passenger seat, that motion was particularly painful. Taking the shirt on and off, little things like that, right? It has definitely improved in day-to-day life, and it's nowhere near as bad, and I'm moving mostly normal, so where I'm not thinking about it, and I'm not that I'm constantly worried about or scared of pain, because that's a no-no, but I'm just not thinking about it as much anymore, which is a big plus. And starting to get a lot more range of motion to actually start being able to train some movements. So that's where we are here, just doing a lot of basic external rotation movements. It seems a lot weaker on my right arm, for sure. There's a significant difference on how easy and hard that these motions feel on my right arm compared to my left, and the right arm is one that hurts. So whether that's directly involved in with why it hurts or not, maybe it's just a correlation, I don't know, and likely will not know for sure, but also it doesn't really matter. I'm just kind of glad to be doing something that feels semi-productive, and I was actually able to finally do some sort of pressing today as well. Even that like little push-up type movement with the band was not possible until this day, so that's a big plus. And just started doing a little bit of stretching for my lat and my pec as well. My pec is definitely, it's getting more and more tender, which is interesting. So I'm starting to think that maybe it's something that attaches. It's like right in that deep insertion part of my pec that it's starting to feel it there too. Not that that's painful, but it's just tender when I dig into it, when I stretch it and massage it. So there's definitely something, it seems like, with some sort of rotator cuff weakness, and or just low capacity to handle load and tolerate work right now, combined with some sort of pec tightness or something like that. And like I said, I was able to do some pressing today. So I started off with push-ups on my knees and then on my feet to the bench, trying to figure out like different scapula movements, different ways that I bias the way I press, where my body weight is, seeing if that makes a difference in the pain. And then after that, moved on to push-ups on the floor, and was actually able to do some of those as well, mostly pain-free, which is pretty interesting. And I considered trying to do some weighted push-ups or just progress these in some way, but instead I figured if I can do like this pressing range of motion, I'm going to see if I can load it in a more productive way, because there wasn't really anyone else at the gym, so I wouldn't have been able to load these very well anyway. And yeah, so I decided to try the machine just because it's a bit more of a controlled movement and has a higher potential to load it, plus it's a more controlled motion. But usually for strength stability purposes that's a negative, but in this case that is a positive. I did have to play around with grip width a little bit and with the seat height a little bit, and with the seat pretty low it didn't hurt, but I did have to keep my scap retracted pretty hard the whole time. I could not protract at my scapulas at all, and I could not let my shoulder internally rotate the bottom at all. So I did try to go up to the 25 on top of that, and that one hurt a bit more, so went down to a plate. I did just a bunch of volume, like 5 sets of 12 there, and actually got a decent pump. So it was the first time in almost a week that I was able to do some sort of pressing work, which just felt good. And then I just finished off today's workout as usual, which is some rows, face pulls, some curls. And then the only thing I skipped was lateral raises. And then I replaced dips with just some tricep push-downs. Moving to Saturday, so with the change of split, this is my heavy day now. So we're in potentially the last week of this training block. This block might be a 5-week block instead of just 4. The way timing works out going into the competition. So I kind of went into this with the mindset that it was the last heavy day, but also knowing that I might be able to push one more week. And luckily, squat and deadlift are completely unaffected. My shoulder, I don't feel it at all, so it's a plus. And bench is just going to have to kind of rebuild on its own anyway. The timeline doesn't matter quite as much there. So I felt pretty damn strong. I was locked in mentally, I was pretty focused, and yeah, last week I squatted at 190 and moved pretty well. This week I knew I wanted at least 195, so I opted for 197 here, even with head splatters. Maybe would have taken 200, but either way, moved really fast. I was pretty happy with that, and I'm just left some room open next week, potentially take 202 or 205, and even if we end up deloading next week, then I'm still happy with the way this block ended, especially since it's been a crazy high volume training block. 3 sets of 7 on the back off sets, got up to 160 kilos, which was 10 kilos higher than last week, which is a huge improvement. And yeah, with just all the rep work, I do well with a high workload and the higher reps, but higher reps like in the 5 to 8 range, mostly in like the 5 to 6 range when it comes like my peaking blocks. And so the fact that my secondary day is all 8s and 10s and the primary day is all 7s is pretty good, that the top edge strength is there and seemingly growing. Bench today. So I said I was pretty hopeful after Thursday I might build the bench, and so I decided to bring out the block and maybe play around with the grips and see what I could do. This super close grip with the block was okay. It was really dependent on my upper back position and like how deep into shoulder flexion I was going and where exactly everything was. So it was really finicky and it was really hit or miss. I could have used the higher block too and used an even shorter range of motion, but honestly I just don't think that would be very productive to be moving the bar like 2 inches. And that was kind of my conclusion at the end of this as well, is that I was only able to go up to 80 kilos, which I don't even do sets of like 10 or 12 on comp bench that light. So it wasn't really a productive working weight. It wasn't a productive range of motion, and it still kind of hurt at certain reps on the bottom. I can't produce force, and it didn't feel very productive. So yeah, I ended up calling it at 80, and I didn't really bother trying to do any more. And I think, so this is on Saturday, I think on Monday of the following week, I'm planning not to bench, even though I'll likely be able to do more than this and do better than this. I just don't think it'll be very productive still. So I think I'll continue on with the chest press machine and skull crushers, just hammering triceps instead, until I can either get to like my normal wide competition grip with a shorter range of motion, or a full range of motion with a close grip. Just something that's more akin to a regular bench press that might actually be productive. But if I'm just going to be moving the bar a couple inches with a red, I don't think it's quite worth it yet. And the potential chance of re-aggravating it just is not worth it. Deadlifts kind of just skipped over it there, but it was an okay deadlift day. I was feeling pretty strong. 250 felt pretty sloppy, to be honest. It did not feel quite locked in the groove, but it was fairly quick. So it's always good to know I can muscle up 250 on pretty much any given day. Then did some skull crushers here. It's actually felt really good. I haven't done skull crushers in quite some time, so maybe it's time to keep those in the accessory rotation. Anyway, even, shoulder pain aside, training triceps for that reason right now, but usually I kind of default to just some push downs, and maybe it's time to bring back some skull crushers. And then I finished off with some pull-ups as well, so I wasn't able to do lat pull downs or anything in that range of motion. on earlier in the week. I don't remember which day it was, but this day, at least with this grip, I was able to do them. So that was some progress there as well. So yeah, I'm a bit less frustrated, a bit less annoyed, but we just got to keep working through the small stuff and keep taking the small wins as they come.